The move to the colonial house in the interior of São Paulo had been presented as a fresh start for the Santos family. Roberto had secured a job in the neighboring city, and Clara saw the opportunity as a chance to raise little Gabriel away from urban violence. The property, with its nearly 100 years of history, was being sold at a ridiculously low price due to its long period of vacancy. The first months passed with the expected tranquility. Gabriel played in the spacious backyard, Clara tended to her small garden, and Roberto made the long daily commute to work. The house gradually revealed its charms. Tall windows allowed perfect ventilation, preserved hardwood floors gave elegance to the rooms, and the countryside silence provided nights of restorative sleep. The first mention of the man emerged during a dinner in late autumn. Gabriel concentrated on separating carrot pieces from his plate, casually commented about his new friend who lived beneath the house. Clara and Roberto exchanged understanding smiles, remembering their own childhood fantasies. A 5-year-old's imagination was fertile territory for invented characters. The conversations with the supposed friend became frequent. Gabriel spent long periods sitting near the basement door, whispering incomprehensible words and smiling at emptiness. When questioned, he offered elaborate details. The man was very old, had long white hair, and knew stories about children who had lived in the house. Clara thought about taking Gabriel to the pediatrician, but the behavior didn't seem harmful. The first drawing appeared stuck to the refrigerator on a Monday morning. Gabriel had woken up early and produced a work in dark tones of crayon. The central figure was recognizably human but disturbingly elongated, with disproportionately long arms and eyes that occupied half the face. Around this figure, small forms that could be children seemed to float. Clara praised her son's creativity but stored the drawing in a drawer. The drawings multiplied rapidly. Gabriel produced at least one per day, always with dark themes and distorted characters. The predominant colors were black, dark brown, and a red that the boy applied with excessive pressure, sometimes tearing the paper. Clara began to question whether the move had psychologically affected her son. The situation acquired disturbing contours when Gabriel began mentioning specific events before they happened. On a Thursday afternoon, he commented that the lady in the blue house wouldn't wake up the next day. Clara dismissed the comment as childhood fantasy until she received a call from a neighbor informing her that Dona Eulalia had died in her sleep. Roberto tried to rationalize it as coincidence, but Clara felt growing discomfort. Gabriel continued, his imaginary conversations with renewed intensity, and his drawings became even more disturbing. In a recent production, he had drawn a house that was clearly theirs, with several small figures buried in the yard and a larger figure watching from an underground window. The next prediction came during Sunday morning breakfast. Gabriel mentioned that the man from the neighboring farm would fall from the big tree on Monday. Clara mentally noted the date. When she learned that Sojuan had fractured his leg falling from a mango tree, she decided to investigate more deeply. The conversation with Gabriel revealed details that a 5-year-old shouldn't know. The boy precisely described the layout of rooms he had never explored, mentioned names of people who had lived there decades before, and spoke about children who had played on the property long ago. When Clara asked where these children were, Gabriel pointed downward, toward the basement. The investigation began with a visit to the local city hall. The records revealed a fragmented history. The house had been built in 1923 by a German family, passed through various owners, and remained unoccupied for long periods. Clara noticed inexplicable gaps in the records between the 1940s and 1960s. The municipal library offered little additional information, but an elderly employee vaguely remembered stories about children who disappeared in the region during the 1950s. The cases were never solved. Clara felt a chill realizing that all the disappearances occurred within a few kilometers of their residence. The knocking began on a new moon night. Clara woke to a rhythmic, muffled sound that seemed to come from beneath the house. She went downstairs silently and positioned herself near the basement door. The sound was unmistakable. Something was knocking from the other side of the cement wall. The basement door had been sealed with cement when the family moved in. Roberto had assumed it was a preventive measure against humidity, common in old houses. Observing the marks on the gray surface, Clara realized the work had been done hastily, leaving irregularities and small cracks. The knocking became a regular nightly event. Always at the same time, around 3 in the morning, the sound echoed through the structure. Gabriel seemed oblivious to the phenomenon, sleeping peacefully, but his drawings reflected growing agitation. The shadowy figures multiplied, and he began drawing open doors with hands emerging from darkness. The decision to break the seal came after a week of interrupted nights. It was when Gabriel drew a detailed map of the basement, including a room that didn't appear on the house's original blueprint, that Roberto agreed to examine the situation. The work of removing the cement revealed a heavy wooden door with multiple locks and evident signs of scratches on the inner surface. Roberto forced the rusted locks, and the door opened with a prolonged groan that echoed through the house. The air that emerged carried an odor of mold mixed with something more disturbing, a sweet, nauseating smell. Roberto illuminated the interior with a flashlight, revealing a small but carefully organized space. The walls were covered with black and white photographs, dozens of them, all showing children of various ages. The photographs were organized in meticulous rows, each identified with the name and date in careful handwriting. Clara examined the images, with growing horror, recognizing faces that had appeared in Gabriel's drawings. The dates ranged from 1945 to 1962, and all the children appeared to be between 4 and 8 years old. In the center of the opposite wall, in a prominent position, was a larger photograph. The image showed a boy of approximately 5 years old, with light hair and large eyes that seemed too familiar. Clara approached with suspended breath, and Roberto directed the flashlight directly at the photograph. The face observing them was unmistakably identical to Gabriel's. Under the photograph, a metal plaque bore an engraved inscription, Gabriel Santos, 1953. Clara felt her legs weaken as both processed the impossibility of what they were seeing. The photograph had been taken 70 years before their son's birth, but the resemblance was too perfect to be coincidence. The corner of the room revealed other disturbing objects. A small table with antique medical instruments, glass bottles, containing liquids darkened by time, and a leather-bound notebook with pages covered by annotations in German. Roberto quickly leafed through the notebook, recognizing words related to experiments and preservation. Roberto had discovered a second door, smaller and partially hidden behind a makeshift shelf. This door wasn't sealed, only locked with a simple bolt. He opened it carefully, revealing a narrow staircase that descended to an even deeper level of the house. The staircase ended in a natural chamber, where the flashlight's light revealed the final horror. Along the walls, niches carved into the stone contained small skeletons in different stages of preservation. In the center of the chamber, a stone table showed signs of recent use, with instrument marks and stains that time had not managed to erase. Clara understood the terrible truth about the house. The German who had built the property wasn't a simple immigrant. He was a man with medical knowledge and dark purposes, who had chosen isolation to continue macabre experiments. The region's disappeared children had been lured to the house, and, through impossible processes, he had managed to preserve aspects of these children beyond physical death. Gabriel wasn't talking to an imaginary friend. He was talking to the echo of children who had died in that house decades before, preserved by methods that defied nature. And somehow, impossibly, her son carried not only the appearance but possibly the soul of one of these ancient victims. The key. Santos' family left the house that same night, taking only the essentials. Gabriel cried throughout the entire journey, looking through the rear window and waving at something only he could see in the darkness of the abandoned property. Darkness hides in the details. If you made it this far, the story must have pulled you in. Leave a like, drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to Alma Oculta and ring the bell. That way, you won't miss the next. Dive into terror and mystery. Until next time, if the night allows it.